Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, Devesh. Thank you, Devesh. And now we are going to begin our session. Okay. So, welcome everyone. Today's session, as we all know, is CP Talks with Priyansh Agarwal. It is hosted by CodeChef SCOE Pune Chapter and in collaboration with BVCOENM Chapter. So, this is our first time collaborating with some other chapter. So, I am excited. Our executive team is excited, and I hope you all are also excited for that. And let's hope we can grow this community to a greater height. Okay. So for the agenda for today's session would be introduction of Priyansh. Okay, the speaker here is Priyansh, and I don't think he needs an introduction, but still, we'll give him an introduction. Uh, an ice breaking for CP. Someone asked that right now. So and then a doubt session will also be there, and a vote of thanks. So I'll start with talking about something about Priyansh. I still don't think he needs an introduction, but still. So he's a third year undergrad at IIIT Delhi. He's candidate masters on Codeforces. He's 6 stars on CodeChef, and also he has ranked 20 on in ICPC Regionals. Also, he's an upcoming intern at Goldman Sachs. So that's a great achievement, I think. And as we all know, I know him from his YouTube channel. So he's a YouTube content creator. So instead of me speaking about him, let's bring him to the stage and do the talking. Priyansh.
Okay, I am really sorry. I sort of, my internet sort of just went off. Give me a minute.
Yeah, no
Uh,
worries. So,
yeah. Sorry. You
yeah,
you can continue. Yeah. Tell me
no,
what you.
I was just saying that you don't need an introduction, and I introduced you through this slide. But
Yeah,
I would like you to introduce yourself.
understand that much. I think you sort of questioned me on something, and I sort of just went off.
No,
So
no, no. It wasn't anything. I just thought that you don't need an introduction, and then I want you to introduce yourself. Yet,
yeah. So should I introduce myself, or like have you already done that?
I'm done with my thing, but I think you can add to that. Like,
Okay. Okay. Sure. So I think he's already covered pretty much, what I've achieved and what all is, there to know about me. But apart from that, I'll tell you, I've been doing competitive programming for the past 2 years, and I have had a pretty long journey in CP. So there are quite a lot of things that I've experienced. There are quite a lot of mistakes that I've made, right? And there are quite a lot of things that I feel that I should have done when I was starting out, right? So I'll be talking about everything. I feel that whenever you are sort of looking at somebody's journey, you should be learning from that so that you don't repeat the same mistakes, and you know what exactly you need to do, right? So I'll be talking about all of that. So yeah.
yeah, the audience here is waiting to hear your journey. I know that, and I think everyone is ready with book and pen because a topper's journey is a journey to note down. So I think without wasting any time, we should begin to our first question, right, Priya?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the first question today would be, how should a newbie start with CP? You can also answer the questions like which language to start and which platform to begin from.
Okay, right. So when you talk about starting competitive programming, you can start competitive programming only when you know a programming language. For example, if you don't know any programming language, then talking about competitive programming doesn't really make sense. So you have to learn a programming language. That is the first thing. And if you talk about choosing a programming language, then it kind of depends on, if you already have some experience with a particular language. For example, you've been doing Java, let's say, for the past 6 months, or let's say you've been doing Python for the last 7 months. Right. So in that case, I wouldn't really recommend you to go for C++. But if you're starting out totally fresh, you don't have any experience in programming, you can start with C++. Considering the fact that you want to become a good competitive programmer. I mean, if you don't want to spend a lot of time in CP, then choosing any language won't matter. But if you're feeling that I have to spend a considerable amount of time in CP, something like maybe 2 years or maybe 2.5 years, then choosing the right language in the beginning would be preferred. So you can go for C++, but otherwise Java would also be preferred. And if you already have a lot of experience with, let's say, Python or Java, you can go for any of them.
Okay. So any specific reason for choosing C++ over other languages?
Right. So the thing is, first of all, C++ is pretty fast, right? It is the fastest among all languages. So let's say if you're solving a problem on Codeforces, everyone will be having the same time limit. Let's say this problem requires that your code runs in 2 seconds, right? So if this problem requires that, then all the languages are same. On some online judges, there is like a scaling factor that, if C++ code has to run in 1 second, then Python code has to run in 5 seconds. But in a lot of platforms, the scaling factor is not there. So they treat every language same, right? So if there is a platform which doesn't have a scaling factor, then you're obviously at an advantage if you're choosing a faster language. So that is one reason. Apart from that, a major reason is that it has a lot of libraries that that you can use to sort of write efficient and very small code. So that is the main reason for choosing C++.
Okay, yeah. Just to add to that question, what platform would you prefer to start for the beginners to start?
For beginners, so it kind of depends on, do you already know a programming language? Have you already done some CP, or like you are a complete beginner? So which category of people are you referring to here?
Let's consider a complete beginner who is just new to programming and learning programming right now. And then he wants to start with some platform, but there are many platforms, right? For example, there is Codeforces, CodeChef, HackerRank, HackerEarth. So where would you prefer for him to start?
I think when you're just starting out, choose an easy platform. Don't choose a platform which sort of totally takes out your motivation. For example, if you go on Codeforces directly, you will feel that this is something that I can't do. I can't do programming. This is what you'll feel if you go on Codeforces directly. So what you can do is you can choose an easier platform, something like HackerEarth, HackerRank, or maybe Geeks for Geeks. So what you can do is you can start solving a lot of random problems on these platforms, right? Now, once you feel that you're comfortable with one programming language, let's say you're very comfortable with writing any logic that comes to your mind in C++, right? So that is the time you can switch to a platform which is CP specific. And CP specific platforms, I mean, for example, it could be CodeChef, it could be AdCoder, it could be Codeforces, right? So still, again, if you're going for a CP specific platform, I would prefer starting with CodeChef in the beginning, because I feel that CodeChef is more rewarding in terms of like both rating graphs and the problems that are out there. So if you talk about my example particularly, when I started competitive programming, I started with CodeChef. So what I could see was initially my rating was going up and up and up, right? But when I started with Codeforces, I felt that my rating is going down. I mean, the skill level is similar, but when I'm performing, my CodeChef rating is going up initially, and that is just because CodeChef is more rewarding in terms of rating. That is what I feel. That is what I've felt. But I mean, both of them run on the same ELO system, which is like if there are two people and they both perform in a contest, and let's say somebody has a lower, let's say there are two people A and B, and A has a lower rating than B. If A performs better than B, then A's rating should increase much more than what B's rating will increase. Right? Both of these platforms run on these same ELO system, but again, I would prefer if you start with CodeChef.
Okay, that's what pretty much sums it up. And I think we should begin with our next question.
Sure.
So the next question is, as a beginner, did you take any online or offline course for CP to learn CP?
I did. So like I actually started my competitive programming journey around, I guess, the end of my second semester, right? And I'm not really sure when I actually took that Coding Ninjas course. I took a course from Coding Ninjas for competitive programming. So at that time, I did not know any DSA. I only knew one programming language, which was like Python, and I had some very little experience with C++, right? Python I knew because it was being taught in my first semester. C++ I knew because I mean that I had done in my 11th and 12th, right? So just after knowing two programming languages, I mean Python I knew a lot and C++ not that much. So I directly went for that course at Coding Ninjas, and it took me around 2 months, or I guess 2.5 months to complete it. And yeah, I mean after that it was just about practicing on my own. So apart, if you look at my whole competitive programming journey of 2 years, that course just takes up around like 2 months from it, and the rest of it is something that I have explored on my own. So but yeah, definitely it gave a very good kickstart to my journey. I would not deny that.
Okay, so I hope everyone is noting these things down, right?
But
If you are
like
noting it, if
yeah,
you are
sorry.
noting it down, just mention a fire emoji in the chat. Fire
Sorry,
emoji for Priyansh.
when you talk about taking a course right now, I don't really recommend going for a paid course at this point. If you look at a lot of YouTube channels as well, there are quite a lot of YouTube channels. One of them is by Love. I'm not really sure of his full name, but he's a guy from IIIT Allahabad, and he's like he has a very good YouTube channel, and he has a lot of tutorials on a lot of stuff that is totally free, right? So if you have to learn, you can go online and learn for free as well. So there is no specific need to buy a paid course.
Also, just to mention, we also have our YouTube channel and we share our content there. So anyone in the meeting can follow us there. The guys on YouTube are all already following. I'm hoping that. Okay. So I think we can begin with our next question, right, Priyansh?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the next question is how to improve logic building skills. Like how did it click for you? How did you went through it, that journey?
Okay, so I feel that a lot of people, when they start, programming, they feel that somebody is just born with, very good logic building skills, very good logic. And trust me, it is not the case. With most of the people, it is not. There are some prodigies, but we're not considering prodigies here, right? So if you talk about increasing your, logic building skills, this comes with practice, right? So I'll tell you how exactly you will be improving. For example, if I tell you that right now you are solving a problem and you're not able to solve it, let's say, okay, and for the next 6 months you continue to practice, you continue to strive, and when you come back to that same problem, you'll be able to see that you will be in a much better situation to solve it compared to the last 6 months, right? So if you continue to put in that effort, just solving random problems on Codeforces, CodeChef, any CP platform, it should build up your logic building skills.
So all in all, you mean to say that practice is the key to success, right?
Yeah, definitely. And trust me, whenever you feel that somebody has a better logic than you, it is mostly the case that they have practiced more than you, right? Or they have practiced harder problems from you. For example, you might feel that somebody's practicing even less, and they're better than me, and you'll just have to sort of accept the fact that they're solving more, they're solving harder problems. That is the reason.
Yeah. So everyone keep note of that. Practice, practice, practice. So let's move to our next question. And this is a personal favorite question, right? I'm in fourth year and I know this happened to me a lot. So how to stay motivated at CP?
Okay, that's actually a very interesting question, and it is something that that requires, I don't know, it just sort of cannot be expressed in words, first of all. But apart from that, if you have to assign any motivation to anything, like if you have to feel motivated about anything, you can assign a goal to it. For example, let's say I tell you that I want to get good at CP because of so and so, and this so and so reason can be anything for you. It could be something like coming into the top 100 in India, when you talk about competitive programming, reaching to the top 1 percentile in India, or something like being able to perform really well in interviews. So if you have a goal assigned to your your whole journey, you will be sort of motivated, right? So whenever you feel that you're not performing very well or you are getting demotivated, just think about that final goal that you're aiming at, right? And you should feel motivated. And apart from that, I also want to mention the fact that it is very important to take breaks. For example, let's say you are doing CP for 10 days, and on the 11th day you give a contest and you feel that you're totally burnt out, you are not performing very well, right? So it is very important that you take breaks, right? So if you're getting demotivated, I mean, what I do is kind of really strange. So whenever I'm attempting a contest and I feel that after the contest I have not performed so much, I mean, I haven't performed really well, I sort of take it to my ego and try to upsolve even more problems from that round, right? So this is sort of helping me in both ways. Like it is helping me upsolve more problems, and then after the round, when I upsolve more problems, I am also getting more motivated that if I wasn't able to solve these problems in the round, at least I'm able to solve them now, right? So you can sort of take it to your ego that whenever you're not performing so well, you upsolve more problems.
That's an insightful answer. So, and you also mentioned breaks, right? Those breaks need to be 1 or 2 days, right? Not like us, like 1 month, 2 month breaks, right?
No. When I talk about breaks, like break should be something like 10% of your journey. For example, in every 10 days, you can take a break, right? That would be preferred, but it shouldn't be the other way around, that you're doing CP for 1 day and then taking a break of 10 days. So whatever you would have learned in that 1 day would also, vanish in those 10 days that you're taking a break of.
So everyone keep note, short breaks. So let's move to our next question. how to maintain a consistently growing graph, right? You mentioned the graphs before as well. So how do you maintain that?
I think I would not be the very right person to answer this because like my rating has been saturated for the past 1 year. So I became a candidate master in just 1 year of my competitive programming journey. And since then, I have been a candidate master. I haven't sort of improved so much, right? So I don't think I would be very good to answer this question, but I can sort of answer on the part where I was actually improving. For example, if you look at my initial journey, something like my first 6 months or my first 8 months, my graph was constantly going up. Right now, it is sort of saturated because I'm not putting in a lot of effort, right? So if you talk about consistently having that rating graph going up, what this means is that let's say you are at a particular rating X, right? So your rating will go up only when you're able to solve harder problems than what your rating demands, right? If your rating is something like 1,000, then your rating, I mean, your current rating would demand you to solve at least like two problems in a single Codeforces round, right? So if you continue to solve two problems in every Codeforces round, your rating will go up a little and then it will become saturated, right? It won't go up after that. So in order to have your graph constantly going up, you need to upsolve. Now, what do you mean by upsolve? For example, I tell you that there is a Codeforces round and there are 6 problems in that round. So in that round, you were able to do 2 problems. So after the round, what you have to do is you have to solve the third problem, right? You don't have to spend like 6 hours or 7 hours trying to figure out what needs to be done in this problem. But spending, let's say you can spend around 1 hour, one honest, try you can give to that problem of an hour. After that, you can look at the editorial. And while you're reading the editorial, try to note down the points that you don't know. I mean, the concepts that you don't know. For example, a problem might require a concept of prefix sum, right? And if you haven't studied anything about prefix sum, it is very likely that you, even after reading the editorial, you won't be able to solve it, right? So let's say you have read the editorial and you feel that there are 5 concepts that you don't know about. So learn about all these 5 concepts, then come back to that problem and solve it now. Now, when you solve it, even while you're, let's say you sort of solve this problem, okay? So it is not like you've just solved this problem without knowing anything. You've learned 5 concepts and you applied those 5 concepts, right? So next time any of these 5 concepts comes in another future round, you'll be in a very good situation to apply it, right? So it is very important that you keep up solving. Try pushing your limit. Your rating will only go up if you push your limit. If you don't push your limit, it will stay saturated, like mine. Okay, so don't do that.
I would love to be saturated at the candidate master's level,
I hope sort of, I become master in, let's say, another 1 month, because right now I'm putting in a lot of effort again. Like I am in that same zone of, when I was putting in a lot of effort initially in my first 6 or 8 months. So let's hope that, I become a master in the next 1 month and I sort of come back here talking about being a master and not a candidate master.
We would love to have you here again. Also, just to mention, you mentioned upsolving, right? So just for the audience who don't know, Priyansh also shares upsolving sessions on his YouTube channel, right, Priyansh? So everyone can
It's
visit
sort of
there
not,
as well.
yeah, it is not being posted so much so regularly right now, because right now I am putting in a lot of effort specifically on competitive programming and not on my YouTube channel at this moment. But yeah, if you talk about 1 month from now, I will be again very regular on my YouTube channel, so you can definitely check out that.
Yeah, we are waiting for that. So let's move to our next question now. So what strategy to use to learn advanced CP concepts like DP or graphs? Because we struggle with that a lot. Like we cannot move to that level. So what strategies specifically you might have used in your journey of learning?
Okay. So the thing is that when we started the session, I sort of asked people to tell me what their current rating is, right? So when I looked at the ratings that people had, mentioned, everyone was something like below specialist. So for specifically for the people who are attending this live right now, I want to mention that, it is not very important that you run after a lot of concepts initially. Okay. If you are like someone like if your rating is something less than 1400, then you don't have to worry about anything like graphs or trees. DP you can do, dynamic programming you can do. It is still considered to be a much easier topic compared to graphs and trees, right? But initially you don't have to run after a lot of concepts. You have to focus on building your problem solving skills. You have to focus on building your logic. So I'll tell you what happens. Let's say for all the people that are attending this right now, I am assuming that none of you are above 1500 rating, right? So what happens that, let's say I tell you, you attend this 10-hour class on graphs and you attend this 10-hour class on trees, and you try to solve these problems. So and so, you try to solve so and so problems. Okay. So what will happen is that I might teach you a lot of concepts, but you will never be able to apply them. Why? Because right now, when you're not able to apply simple logic, it makes sense that you won't be able to apply so complex stuff. So what happens is that when you talk about competitive programming, knowing a concept is not so much important. Being able to apply it is more important, right? So what happens is that, let's say you're learning dynamic programming, and I give you a problem. I give you a problem on dynamic programming, and if you're not able to identify that this is a problem on dynamic programming, then knowing dynamic programming is just a waste, right? So it is very important that while you're learning any concept, you are able to apply it whenever you see a problem on that concept. So initially, I would say that first of all, just focus on your problem solving skills. Try and build on your observation skills. Looking at a problem, you have to first of all form observations, right? So that is the first thing that I wanted to mention. But since you actually want me to talk about how do you learn advanced stuff, then the thing is very simple. If you talk about any advanced topic like dynamic programming or graphs and trees, you have to learn it bit by bit, right? So let's say I tell you that in graphs, there are 10 beginner concept, 20 intermediate concept, and then 5 very hard concept. So what happens is that most of the questions that you will see are from beginner concept only. Some of them will be from intermediate, and very rare, like, you will get one question in 100 contests. That type of thing will be there for very hard concepts, right? So what you have to do is you have to learn it bit by bit. Let's say you learn 5 beginner concepts and you apply it. You solve a lot of problems on these beginner concepts, right? And then you can sort of move to learning harder concepts. So if you talk about resources, then you can refer to any, I guess, playlist on YouTube. There are quite a lot of playlists now, and I guess there is also a website called CP Algorithm. So if you specifically want to understand that what are the topics that I need to do in graphs, trees, dynamic programming, all that stuff, you can refer to that website, right? And there is also a Codeforces edu section. So for the people who know about Codeforces, there is a section called edu section. So there they post a lot of tutorials on stuff like binary search, 2 pointers, and suffix array and all of that stuff. So you can check out that as well.
Okay, so just to add to those resources thing, we had conducted our sessions on graphs, and there's a great speaker who's speaking in those sessions. I am pointing to that speaker, so do watch that. Okay, so let's move to our next question. So how did you balance CP and other activities? Like you are in triple IT. So I'm considering that you might have had college assignments and those stuffs. And then during my turn in third year, there was like a war between what to do, development or CP. So how did you balance out these things?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. It kind of totally depends on your priorities. So let's say my priority right now is to become a master on Codeforces or get into the top 100 in India, right? So my current rank is around 123 on Codeforces in India, and I want to get into the top 100. So that is my priority, right? So even if, let's say, my college tells me that these are 5 assignments that you have to finish by the end of the week, I don't give a shit about it. I mean, it's pretty simple. You have to define your priorities, okay? So I'm not saying that I won't just touch these assignments. I will have to do them somehow in order to sort of pass my, or in order to get my degree. But understand that when you talk about allotting time to to stuff that is not on your priority list, you have to do the bare minimum, right? So I'm not saying that you have to do CP and you have to neglect your grades. It totally depends on your priorities. Let's say there are some people here who want to go for a master's. So for them, maintaining a good CGPA is really very important, right? So in that case, you should dedicate your heart and soul to maintaining a good CGPA. You should know what your priorities are, right? So that is what I did. I mean, I sort of defined my priorities very straight, that my first priority is competitive programming, then some content creation, and then obviously my health, and then comes my college, right? So if you talk about anybody who's in IIIT Delhi, and if you start treating college at your last priority, it just means that your grades are going to go down. So I'll tell you exactly what happened in my case. So I was getting around 9.2 GPA in the last semester. Sorry, in the semester previous to the last one, and in the last semester I got a 7.4. So can you imagine? I went from 9.2 to 7.4 just so that I could maintain my YouTube channel and sort of work on my competitive programming skills. So all you have to do is right now, for all the people that are attending this session, after this session or while you're attending it, you jot down all the points, all the things that are on your priority list. right? So this could be totally different. Don't make a priority list on the basis of what I'm saying. Don't put competitive programming as your first priority, but put priorities according to your journey. So for some people who are very good in development, spending a lot of time in competitive programming won't make sense. So put your development thing on the top of your priority list and assign time accordingly, right? And there is also one more thing that I want to mention, that what a lot of times this happens with me, that whenever I'm attending college, I mean, whenever I have a lot of assignments at college, I get totally tensed that I have 5 assignments to complete, I have so many deadlines to meet, and so I should just totally skip competitive programming, I should just totally skip YouTube, everything. I should focus my time on this, right? But this is something that you shouldn't be doing. So this was told to me by one of my friends at IIIT Delhi, and he told me that if you have to, like, if there is anything that is on the top of your priority list, you should be spending at least 1 hour on it every day, no matter what the situation is, right? So even if, let's say, I'm not solving problems or going on Codeforces directly, I can sort of learn something from YouTube in 1 hour, right? But it is very important that you sort of take out at least 1 to 2 hours every day for stuff that is on the top of your priority list, right? So I think that is something that you can use to manage your time.
Okay, just to add to that, like just a number, just give me a number. How many questions would you used to solve daily?
Okay, at the time when I was totally interested in CP, and when I was totally had my head down that I will have to improve, at that time I was solving, I guess, around 8 to 10 problems every day. And at this time also I'm solving around 8 to 10 problems every day. So that is like the same zone that I'm into right now. So yeah, you will have to
That's
solve a lot of problems. Even if you do at least 5 problems every day, it is totally okay. I mean, 5 is a lot actually. Even if you do 2 problems every day, it is fine. Okay, just don't go and don't go on Codeforces and solve very easy 2 problems. Solve 2 problems that bring you out of your comfort zone. If you're solving 2 problems every day of that category, you will be improving. Nobody can stop you. You will be improving.
okay. So when you mention two questions, those questions must be difficult for you, for someone,
Yeah, they should
right?
bring you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. So keep note of that. Or guys will be solving two questions like sort and array, and then they are done using the library. Okay, so let's move to next question now. Uh, so how did CP actually help you grab opportunities and create new opportunities as well? Because you are a content creator now. So how did it help?
Okay, so if you talk about opportunities that I've got from competitive programming, there are a lot. So I'll tell you all of the stuff that is related to competitive programming and that I'm doing right now. So first of all, if you talk about any of my like social media handles, something like Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, or maybe YouTube, everything is running because I am doing competitive programming. The day I stop, talking about competitive programming, the day I stop doing competitive programming, that is the time nobody would want to sort of even look at all these handles, right? Nobody would want to know what is going on in my life when I put it out on Twitter, right? So that is the first thing. Everything that is running around me is sort of linked to competitive programming. The other thing is that obviously, if you talk about my internship at Goldman Sachs, my overall experience was pretty much a cakewalk. I am not boasting here, but it was actually. It was pretty much a cakewalk, specifically because I was very good in competitive programming, right? And apart from that, I'm also doing a part-time freelance work right now, which is paying a lot right now. Okay, and it is totally linked to competitive programming. So I cannot sort of reveal the numbers here, but this is just to give you a hint that by doing competitive programming, you can also earn some side income, right? And also, apart from the fact that apart from all of this, my YouTube channel, the main thing that is running right now, it is totally based on competitive programming, right? So that is one major opportunity that I've got from CP. And definitely here, I mean, I have got to interact with so many great minds. Like if you talk about people like who are India rank one, Utkarsh Gupta, who are people like Galen Colin. I'm not really sure if a lot of people know Galen Colin here. So I have interacted with so many amazing bright minds, right? So that is another opportunity that I've got.
That's very insightful and also very motivating. So I think that sums it, and I don't need to add to it. So and that question is somewhat connecting to your previous answer. Please tell us something about TLE Eliminators and also your YouTube channel. So both of them are connected.
So this gives me an opportunity to sort of promote my YouTube channel and also TLE Eliminators. So for those of you who don't know me, I run a YouTube channel on competitive programming. I have around 22.7, I guess 22.8 now, 22.8K subscribers. And I mean, I'm not really regular right now from the past like 2 weeks, but I'm definitely very regular if you look at my, past experience on YouTube, right? So I have a YouTube channel. You can definitely check that out. Apart from that, I also have a course on competitive programming, and it is it is a paid course, but it is very cheap compared to all these edtech companies that are offering similar courses. So TLE Eliminators is the name of this course, and this is a course based on competitive programming. So yeah, sorry, just a minute. Okay. Yeah, so somebody sort of posted the link here. So you guys can definitely check out that channel. And yeah, I was talking about TLE Eliminator. So it is a course on competitive programming, and it is a 3-month long course. So there are 2 levels in this course. There is level 1, there is level 2. In level 1, we are sort of catering to people who have no experience with programming whatsoever. Like if you don't know any programming language, you can start with level 1. And if you're somebody whose rating is something like 1200, 1300 on Codeforces, most of the people here are of that category, you can join level 2. Because in level 2, we are sort of focused on helping you solve problems, helping you solve Codeforces A, B, C, and D problems, right? So that is about TLE Eliminators. If you talk about the cost, then in the last batch, it was around 1200 rupees for 3 months in the level 1, and it was 1800 rupees for 3 months in level 2. So which is like 600 rupees per month, right? So it is that cheap if you compare it to the other competitors that we have. Right. Yeah. I mean, I am done talking. Yeah. Oh, by the way, you're on mute if you are trying to speak anything.
Hello. Yeah. Am I audible? Yeah. Sorry, I was having some internet issues. So let's move to a question answer session again. I hope you weren't waiting for a long time,
No, not at all. It was
Priyansh.
totally fine.
Yeah, okay. So let's move to the next question, and that is give us some insight about your interview experience. Not only interview experience, but the entire journey, like how it happened for Goldman Sachs.
Okay. Okay, I think so. We've already talked about a lot of my competitive programming journey. So let me first of all tell you, it is a disclaimer here. My overall interview experience at Goldman Sachs was pretty much a cakewalk because I was very good in competitive programming, right? So there are quite a lot of things that might not apply in your case. For example, I started preparing my computer science fundamentals in the last, I guess, 15 days. So this is something that might not apply to your case. Okay, so you have to take it with a pinch of salt. You don't have to assume that if you follow my exact path, you will be able to sort of get that internship, right? But I'll tell you exactly what happened. So I was already doing competitive programming for the past 1.5 years. I mean, before I actually started preparing for this internship. So I did not specifically prepare for Goldman Sachs. Like I was preparing for the internship drive in general. I wasn't preparing for a specific company. Okay, so I was just aiming that whichever company I can get, the best I can get, I would sort of take it, right? So I sort of started my overall journey of preparing for DSA around, I guess, 2 months before the internship drive. So before that, I was very good in competitive programming. Like if you give me any problem of Codeforces A, B, and C level, it would be like mostly I would be able to solve it. I mean, with probability 0 point something like 95, right? I would be able to solve it. And so the main thing that I was focused on was learning about a lot of concepts. So if you talk about linked list, binary search trees, and stuff like priority queues, heaps, all of that, I did not specifically had to solve a lot of problems to master them. So if you talk about linked list, if you tell me a certain concept, let's say you tell me 5 concepts and you tell me these are the 5 standard problems, I look at them, and then when I have to solve a new problem on linked list, it is very likely that I would be able to solve it, right? So, but this is something that that might not apply to your case if you have not done a lot of competitive programming, if you're not very good with problem solving skills, right? So I'm not saying that you have to start 2 months before your internship drive. You might as well start 6 months before, right? You can take a good buffer here, and you can sort of start at around 6 months before your internship drive or your placement drive, and you can start preparing questions which are DSA specific. So in the last 2 months before my internship drive, I prepared specifically for DSA. I was not preparing to crack, to crack questions of Codeforces F level, Codeforces EF level. I was not preparing for that. I was preparing for, companies that were going to visit my campus, right? So I refer to this sheet by Love Babbar. He has 450 questions in that sheet. And I used to look at a concept, like say a linked list or binary search tree, and I used to just read about all the concepts that are available in that topic, right? And then I used to just solve around 15 or I guess 20 problems in that topic, and I was done with that. So I'll tell you what I did. I did not solve any problems in dynamic programming. I did not solve any problems in graphs, trees, any of that sort, which was already there in CP. I only solved problems which are on the topics that were not there in CP, something like linked list, binary search trees, and maybe recursion and backtracking. Also, I would have done 1 or 2 questions, but not more than that. Right. So I was able to finish that sheet. I was able to finish the concepts that I had to do in around, I guess, 1.5 months, I would say. And in the last 15-20 days, I prepared for computer science fundamentals using Gate Smash S videos. Right. So they have this whole playlist on DBMS. They have this whole playlist on computer networks, OOPS, and OS. So I don't think you would take more than 20 days to go through all the videos that are there on that channel for these topics. So you can sort of decide on your own. Like you can decide that 2 months before my internship drive, I would start preparing for CS core fundamental, right? So then you can allocate time for making notes as well, or revising at the end as well. So that is something that you can focus on. Apart from that, if you talk about preparing for Goldman Sachs specifically, you have to be very good in aptitude. You have to be very good in coding. That is there. One thing that is there, right? You have to be very good in DSA. You have to be very good in CS fundamentals. But apart from that, you also have to be good in aptitude. So this applies to all the companies that are, that fall into that category of fintech companies. Companies like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and what all companies are there? Media.net, and then Code Nation as well. So for these companies, you will have to prepare aptitude, right? So for preparing for aptitude, you can sort of dedicate around 2 months again. Every day you can spend around 10 days. Okay, 10 minutes. Don't spend a lot of time on aptitude because you will also have to prepare your coding skills, right? So you can spend around 10 minutes every day on aptitude, and you can spend around 2 months at the end. So this should pretty much cover the aptitude, right? So this is talking about the whole preparation that you need to do. And then if you talk about my interview experience, I don't think I'm the correct person to talk about the interview experience, because my interview experience was pretty different from what people usually have. So I'll tell you what exactly happened. This is nowhere, this is in no way me trying to boast or anything like that, but this is the actual thing that happened. So when I went into my first interview, the first round of Goldman Sachs. So when the interviewer looked at my resume and he saw that I was something like candidate master on Codeforces, India rank so and so and so. So he was already like, the very first statement that he said was, how did you achieve so much in such a short span of time? And how are you so pro? This was the exact statement that he said, right? So I don't think I should be talking about my interview experience here, because everything that was asked to me in my interviews was pretty much a cakewalk. They were asking me very, very simple stuff. I don't know. Maybe they sort of wanted to shortlist me after looking at my resume. So that is one thing. But yeah, definitely, if you talk about the general pattern of questions that come in interviews, you will be getting standard problems in Goldman Sachs as well. So there won't be any new problems that you will get in interviews. So if you're thorough with that sheet of Love Babbar or maybe Striver's SD sheet, you should be good to go.
Okay, so that's how toppers crack interviews.
I wouldn't call myself a topper after having 7.4 CGPA in the last semester.
But your CP profile shows it, na?
Yeah, still, but if you talk about CP, I don't really associate it to, studies as such. I sort of associate it to as my hobby. So yeah, I don't know. You can call me a topper in that case. I don't know.
Yeah. 7.4 at IIIT Delhi, I don't think that's a problem. We are getting that in our colleges. So without doing CP. So yeah, we should consider you as topper. So I think we are done with the questions. Any special things you want to mention, like before starting with the Q&A session?
I don't have anything specific to add here, but there is just one point that I wanted to mention, which was that, if you have to maintain consistency, that is the main point that I want to mention. Even if you're solving one problem every single day, that is much better than solving 5 problems today and then skipping the next 5 days. Okay, so try and maintain consistency. Once you maintain consistency, if you're doing one problem every single day for next 2 to 3 weeks, the next time when you open Codeforces or any other platform, you will feel that you want to do more problems. You will try to do two problems then. Okay, so try and maintain consistency. Don't take very long breaks. You can take breaks of 1 to 2 days, but yeah, not more than that.
You also mentioned that you consider CP as your hobby. So that's one motivation, right?
Yeah,
That's the point of
definitely. I mean,
motivation.
whenever I'm bored, I don't have to watch a Netflix episode to sort of entertain myself. I can go on Codeforces and solve a problem. So yeah.
Yeah. So everyone take note of that. CP is quite enjoyable. So I think we can begin to our question answer session. Are you ready,
Yeah, definitely.
Priyansh? So everyone, you can throw your questions at. Okay, so everyone is raising hands. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, we can
Uh,
allow them to unmute as well. Yeah.
okay. Whatever you feel like. So anyone who wants to ask question by unmuting, Priyansh, you can ask them to unmute by taking names. Everyone is raising hand in the meetings.
Okay.
And also, I'll be sharing a link. Those who don't want to unmute or those who want their questions to be displayed on the screen, you can ask your questions on this link. I'll be sharing it in the meeting, and someone from our executive team will also share it on YouTube. So just a minute. Priyansh, you can start answering the.
Let me sort of change the layout of this whole thing so that I can see who all are raising their hand.
Yeah.
Or can I look at the raised hands here? I'm not really sure how to look at that. Anyway. Okay, right. We can have Yash. Yash has his hand raised, so he can sort of unmute.
Oh, hi Priyansh.
Hello.
Am I audible?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I've been doing CP for about 4 months now. I'm able to solve questions for about rating of 1600 to 1500, but it takes me a hell lot of time, around 3 to 4 hours, and on an average. So, is it normal or should I probably do development? What do you suggest?
No, it is normal. Having to spend 3 to 4 hours on a problem is totally normal, but actually spending that 3 to 4 hours on that problem is not normal. So what I like to adopt is like a boundary. I mean, a sort of a threshold that after 1 hour, or let's say after 1.5 hours, I will have to look at the editorial. I am not going to keep pushing my limit and keep trying to attempt that problem. Right. So whenever you feel that you're stuck at a problem for more than an hour, you should look at the editorial. Right. It does not make sense that you have to keep trying out various approaches even after a lot of time, because the thing is that let's say you don't know about a concept, something like segmentary. If you don't know about a concept, you will never think in that direction, right? So if you continue to think for the next 10 hours without knowing about segmentary, you are not making any progress. So what you can do is after 1 hour, you can look at the editorial, read the first few lines. So then you'll understand that there are certain concepts that you sort of don't know about, or there are certain observations in that question that you haven't made, right? So that is my take on it. If you want to switch to development, if you're more interested in development, then yeah, you can do development. But don't quit CP because you are having to spend around 3 to 4 hours in a problem right now.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, just a minute, Priyansh. Executive team, the YouTube live stream has some problem, I guess. It ended on my side. Can you please check it out? Just message in the groups that they can join the meeting. I think there are places left so that they can ask their questions. Yeah, Priyansh, you can continue now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Umesh can unmute and speak. Yeah.
So first of all, thank you, Priyansh, for all the insightful information you gave. I wanted to ask more about the internship here. That not everyone has the motivation for this six-star coder. I mean, yeah, we do competitive programming for our logical building part, but I don't have really motivation to become a full-time coder. Or it's a hobby to become a six-star coder. I just want to improve my, the logical building for that. So I was asking about the internship, that if not everyone has this much achievement which you have made, if we are 3 4 star coder enough, we have the logical ability, so what should we extra we do to get selected in such big companies as internship or as a job per se in the Goldman Sachs or any other company? So what should we do apart from that? Or did you did any other projects apart from your competitive programming to get selected in it?
Okay,
That's all.
that's a good question. If you talk about my development knowledge, my development journey, or my development projects, I have zero knowledge, right? So, I mean, I have some course projects that I did at IIIT Delhi because I had to do them. I had no intention of actually doing them. So I only did them to sort of get credits for a particular course, right? So if that is my development journey, but when you talk about if you're already something like 3-star, 4-star, and if you feel that your problem solving skills are good enough, then you don't have to be, something like 6-star or candidate master to crack good companies. All you have to do is master DSA, right? So if you're very good at DSA and if you feel that your problem solving skills are also good enough, what you can do is while you're preparing DSA, you can attempt Codeforces rounds just for fun, just to improve your problem solving skills. Don't focus about, don't focus on improving your rating so much. Just focus on being able to solve new problems, right? So that is something extra that you can do. But if you don't have time at all to even focus on CP and do any development, just focus on DSA. Try and master DSA. That would be the main thing.
Okay, Priyansh,
Okay, sir.
Ayush,
Thank you.
sorry, Umesh, I intervened. Priyansh, Ayush has asked a question. You can see it on my screen. So you have answered this. You have answered this question in the session, but I would like a quick revision on that.
Okay, sure. Again, talking about managing time, you have to make a priority list. Assign time to everything in your priority list. Like start assigning time from the top. Okay, so things that are on the top of your priority list, assign more time to them. And when there are times like you can't assign time to your top priorities and you have to assign time to your low priorities, make sure that you're assigning a minimum amount of time to your top priorities. So that will help you remain consistent, right? So that is the main thing.
I think this question is answered. Anyone else wants to ask a question? Please raise hands. Priyansh, I think Aditya is having a question. If you can.
Sure, you can unmute, Aditya.
Yeah. So hi Priyansh. My question was about how do you approach a solution to the problem? Like what do you gonna like? Do you go mathematically or like you think of it in directly in terms of coding or like you think of patterns and all? Like how do you approach it?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Talking about how do you arrive at solutions to problems, right? This is what you want me to discuss.
Oh,
So
yeah,
the
something.
first, right. So the very first thing is that even before you think about implementing anything, I mean, the very first thing that a lot of people do is they look at that problem and they start thinking about how will they implement the brute force solution, right? So it is okay thinking about this line when you're in an interview, but when you're talking about actual CP problems, then just thinking about directly implementing something doesn't make sense. Okay. So what you have to do is first of all, you have to have a pen and paper. If you don't have a pen and paper, grab one, because it doesn't make sense to keep thinking about observations in your head. If you have them noted down, you will be much faster. Okay. So you don't have to note down everything. You just have to note down very main observations, right? So the first thing is you have to grab a pen and paper, start reading the question, understand what the question wants you to do, and then start making observations. For example, there might be certain stuff in the problem statement which is totally redundant, which does not cater to actually solving that problem. So try not looking at that thing. I mean, you will have to read it for sure, but when you read it, you know that you don't have to read it again to understand it, because this is redundant stuff, right? So you have to first of all understand what is important in the problem statement. Secondly, you have to jot down observations. For example, you might look at a problem statement and you might feel that the answer will always be less than 10 to the power 6. This is something that you might observe. Okay, I mean, you look at the problem statement, nobody is going to tell you that the answer will be less than 10 to the power 6, but you think and you sort of make an observation that the answer will always be less than 10 to the power 6. So what you can do is you can sort of try out all the possible answers, that if this answer is fitting or not, right? So these are certain observations. You have to understand the constraints. There are constraints in the problem. Something like n is less than 10 to the power 5, n is less than 10. So if I tell you n is less than 10, you can apply an exponential solution as well, right? You don't have to think about order of n cube or order of n solution when n is less than 10, right? So that is first thing, understand the constraints, make observations. And again, even before you start implementing anything, have a flow in your mind. That, for example, you have a problem wherein you are going to apply binary search. So have a flow in your mind that this is how I will be, defining my left pointer. This is how I'll be defining my right pointer. This is the search space. This is where I'll be searching. This is the function that I'll be making, and you'll be done. When you actually come to when you actually sit down to implement that stuff, you'll be very quick. right? So you don't have to sort of, remove a lot of lines of code and then code them again if you have a very good structure in your mind.
Actually, I had the question like sometimes it is possible that we get the solution by just mathematically modeling it, but sometimes it's not the case. Like we don't always get the solution by mathematics, right? Like sometimes we get it by recalling stuff like using stacks and all. So like how do you approach it? Like how do you think of
So
it? Like
that will always come with practice. Once you solve a lot of problems, you will understand that there are certain type of sub problems. For example, you might want to find the next greater element in the array for every element. So in that case, you can use a stack, right? So this is something that if you encounter it for the first time, you will never be able to apply it. But if you encounter it for the first time, you understand how it's done, you implement it. The next time something similar comes in front of you, you will be able to think about that. Right. So there are quite a lot of concepts which you look at. If you look at them at the first instance, you will never be able to get them. So it is totally fine.
yeah, okay. So like yeah, and I had another question. How do you choose between like the knowledge and the intelligence? Like it is possible that you may solve the given problem with the already you know arrays and some stuff like arrays, queues and all. So like you can solve the problem with those also, and there's always a effective solution to it, which you like assume it like you don't know it now. So like how do you choose between it? Like do you go with what you have or like you learn new things for it?
No, definitely. When you have to code up anything in a contest, you will only be applying what you already know. You can never learn anything while you're giving a contest, right? But apart from that, when you talk about, again, when you give a contest, let's say you apply something and it sort of works. So if it works, it doesn't mean that your solution is the perfect solution. Even after the contest, you look at the editorial and understand which are the things that you could have, sort of improved. Right. So that is first thing. When you're practicing, again, you have to first of all understand what you already know. Apply that. If you feel that this is working, then you do that. And then again look at the editorial. But if you feel that what you already know doesn't really fit in here, then you look at the editorial and learn about more effective stuff.
Yeah, okay. So looking at editorial would work. Thanks.
We have some more questions on our slide. You can refer the slides.
Yeah, sure. How to apply for companies like Goldman Sachs off campus? So I have no idea how to apply for companies off campus because my offer was on campus, right? But yeah, if you be a part of a lot of communities, like there is a Telegram group called Women in Tech IIIT Delhi. So I can leave the link to it. I mean, I can sort of share the link with Dhanashri, and she can share the link with everyone here, right? So there is one group which is Women in Tech IIIT Delhi on Telegram. Then there is quite a lot of WhatsApp communities as well. So if you're part of any communities, what happens is that whenever there is any job opening, whenever there is any opening for an internship, it is mostly posted on these platforms. So that can help you know when you have to apply. But when you actually talk about actually going and applying there, you have to first of all ask for a referral from somebody who's already working in that firm or in that company, right? If you don't get a referral, it is totally fine. I mean, you can still apply, but if you apply with a referral, your chances of getting called of being called for an interview will increase, right? So try and apply using a referral. And when you talk about getting a referral, all you have to do is go on LinkedIn, search for, let's say you want to apply for Goldman Sachs. So search for Goldman Sachs and all the people that come in the list. You look at people who are currently working and you send them a friend or send them a connection request, right? And try and send connection requests to people who have mutual connections with you. And also try and send connection requests to people who are from your college maybe, or people who you already know, because then your chances of getting a referral would be higher.
I'll be asking you for referrals now.
Yeah, sure. Once I start working, you can definitely ask me for referrals. As fresher, how to start CP? Learn a programming language. Go to an easy platform like HackerEarth, HackerRank, Geeks for Geeks. Solve some problems which help you, implement logic in that particular problem. Then you can go for any CP platform. You don't have to specifically learn DSA. You don't have to specifically learn any concepts before actually starting to implement problems. Okay.
One more question on the slide.
Yeah, sure. When can we expect the next batch of TLE eliminators to start? Okay, that's a good question. So we'll be starting around the middle of February. So you guys can apply around that time. And also you guys can be a part of my Discord community. Let me just post the link of that here in the chat. Right. So what happens is that whenever we are about to launch any batch, we usually post it on Discord, and we also post it on LinkedIn. right? So you guys can follow me on LinkedIn and you guys can be a part of my Discord community. So my Discord community is specifically for people who are interested in competitive programming. It is also right now the biggest competitive programming community in India, right? So you guys can be interacting with a lot of cool people here. So definitely check that out.
I think someone is raising hand as well.
Yeah, sure. You can speak.
Um, what do you think the ratio should be between CP and web development while applying for internships for the first time? And what projects do they look like? I'm from a um not really a popular college, so companies don't really come here. So what should be my build up, and what how should I build my resume?
Right, good question again. If you have to build your resume, you can focus on one skill. For example, let's say you are you are totally interested into going for development, right? So in that case, you can have something like 90 is to 10 type of a ratio. That 90% of the time you'll be assigning to development and 10% of it to competitive programming, right? So this is something that you can do. Again, if you are going for CP, you can again do 80-20 or 90-10, something like that of a ratio, and you should be good to go. But what I feel that whenever you are, whenever you're making your resume, there is something that should stand out. I mean, you could be average in everything, that can also work out, right? But if there are certain things in which you are very good, for example, I am very good in competitive programming. So this is something that stands out in my resume. This is something that separates my resume from the bulk, right? So if you're looking at any skill, I would highly suggest mastering that skill and going into the depth of that skill, okay, instead of being good in both development and sort of CP. This is my take on it. A lot of people have different opinion, but yeah.
So, yes, yes, you can.
Yeah, yes, you can go.
Yeah, can I ask again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Priyansh, I just had one question. See, when I approach a question, I write 4 to 5 concepts that come to my mind, 4 to 5 different type of approach that come to my mind, and after that, there's only one of them which is the correct answer. So, how should I know that this approach should be good? I mean, is there any Bible or any book that tells me about how should I approach any specific tags? Take it binary search or constructive algorithm. Is there any book or resource that tells me how
No,
do I have to approach
I
question?
don't think you have to refer to a book for that. If you have 5 approaches in your mind, you look at the time complexity and the space complexity. Let's say let's say you have 5 approaches, and let's say 2 of them fit in the time limit and also fit in the space limit, right? So then you look at which of them is easier to implement. That is how you need to do it. Let's say you have 5 algorithms. Let's say 2 of them are n cube, one of them is n square, and then 2 of them are order of n. And you know that only order of n will work. So why do you have to choose the other 3, the order of n cube and order of n square one, right? So try first of all narrowing down your approaches. I mean, narrow it down to something that works. And then when you have a lot of approaches that work, then choose the one that you can implement fastest.
Okay.
Priyansh, we also have a question on slide.
Right. Let me look at that. How to attempt the next contest after a very good performance contest? Like how to give a contest after you have got positive 120 or positive 130. Okay. Again, if you feel that you have a lot of chances of getting a negative delta, to tackle that, you have to solve harder problems. You have to be better prepared for the next contest, and in order to do that, you have to be in a situation which is better than what you were in the last contest, right? If you have already got something like positive 130, you would be at your saturated rating. If your current rating is, let's say, 1500, and you get to something like 1700 in just one contest, it clearly means that you're on the top of your rating graph, right? So in that case, it is very likely that you'll get a negative delta in the next round because you had a very huge positive delta, right? But again, in order to minimize that negative delta, or in order to sort of get a very small positive delta, you again have to solve harder problems. So there is no like any cheat code for that. Right, and I guess probably we can end it. We've had a pretty long session.
We have many questions on the slides as well. I'll select some good
We
ones
can
from my
probably
side.
two best questions.
One or yeah. Okay, 2 best questions. So just a minute. By that time, you can answer this, and we can end it with one last question.
I want to do development and CP. Can we do development and CP both? Yes, you can do both of them at the same time. But at the end, what will happen is that, let's say you have 10 hours a day that you can dedicate. So let's say you've dedicated 4 hours to CP and 6 hours to development. So at the end of 2 years, let's say you will be sort of average in both of them, or you will be a little above average in both of them, right? Which could be very good for a lot of people. For people who seem to be of that generalist mentality that we have to be general, or we have to be like, sort of average and above average in almost all the skills, for that it is perfect, right? You can do both of them at the same time. But if you feel that you have to be good at one of them, you have to be better than everybody else in one of them, then you will have to focus on one thing at a time. So that is my take on it.
Okay, so I think this is the last question.
Okay, even after knowing constraints, most of time I get TLE error in 1 out of 5 to test cases. How to approach for perfect solution to avoid TLE? Okay, first of all, you code in Java, so it is very likely that you will get a lot of TLEs. But anyway, the thing is that there are quite a lot of things. For example, in Java, if you use the inbuilt sort, it is order of n square. So inbuilt sort of Java uses quick sort. Okay, so once you make that mistake in a contest, the next time when you give a contest and you have to sort the array, you will first of all have to look at what are the solutions for that, right? So that is the first thing. Apart from that, there are quite a lot of things that you can do to optimize your code. For example, instead of using system.out.println every time, maybe you can use \n, right? I'm not really sure about Java, but this actually happens in C++, that there are certain things which are faster. For example, at quite a lot of places, vectors are faster than arrays, right? So these are certain things that you can use. You'll have to figure them out. I mean, you can go on Codeforces and look for blogs that actually talk about this stuff, and you will see a lot of things that you can optimize on.
Okay, so I think that we should end our session here now, like question answer session, or we might go on and on because there are too many questions.
I mean, I am really tired now. The thing is,
Yeah, I can understand.
I mean, again, just a minute. Let me also talk about something that I have for you guys. Just a minute. Okay, so if there are anybody here, if there is anybody here who would like to connect with me on a one-on-one level, so you guys can book a commission with me. So this is, I'll leave the link to it here in the chat. So if you want to actually book a one-on-one commission, I have 2 types of commissions. One of them is like proper CP guidance. So this is like a 45-minute session wherein I get to interact with you one-on-one. I look at your overall journey and I look at all the things that you've done so far, and I guide you according to that. Another commission that I have is like a profile review. So if you have a Codeforces profile, I look at your profile and understand what have you done so far, and what are the mistakes that you made, and what are the things that you need to focus in future, right? So in case anybody wants to book such a commission, you can go on Memboro and book that. Obviously it is paid, but I have tried to kept a very nominal charge so that only interested people are taking it, and I also I'm not feeling totally lethargic at the end, right? Yeah, so yeah, we can end it now. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So guys, you can refer that link, and I think these links will be shared on the groups as well. Executive, take note of that. So yes, that's pretty much what we had to say today. So thank you, Priyansh. It's really great of you that you are here. You were here and you had this so long session with us. And I just hope that if you were available 2 or 3 years ago for me, so I would have been somewhere at that level. But it's okay. I can start now as well. So yeah, that's all. And guys, you can follow Priyansh on these platforms: Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Codeforces, and he has shared his Discord link as well in the link in the chat box. So you can follow him there. We can share the links on the groups. Okay, Priyansh, any final special words to our audience?
No, first of all, a very big thank you for inviting me. And it was like really, great interacting with a lot of people. The fact that I actually liked here was that a lot of people here had very low ratings. So I feel that when I had a similar rating, something like 1200, 1300, And if somebody would have come and guided me according to that, I would have been in a much better situation than I'm right now. Right. So I feel that talking to such a lovely audience was like really amazing for me. And yeah, I did have a great time here. I hope people who were listening to me had a similar time, right? So yeah. And I hope you do amazing. You also become like candidate masters in future and come up to me and tell me that, I attended your session and now I'm a candidate master too.
I would like to text you that.
Sure.
Yeah. So thank you, Priyansh. And guys, we can end the session now. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye bye. See you all.
Everyone, you can leave the meetings now.